So we're back after spending a little bit of time in our 2023 Genesis GV80 2.5 liter turbo, and I like it. I am very impressed with what the Koreans are doing. It's impressive on like what they can offer at this price point and all the standard features, the way it drives. It's a very intriguing proposition if you're in the market for a near luxury. Some circles that might even be luxury, but it's definitely giving the status quo a run for its money. So let's go ahead and get into it a little bit. We'll go ahead and fire up that 2.5 liter and go through all the menus and startup screens, and there's that note again. So again, I'll say it again, this is why I do not purchase cars from rental car companies or anything that's been fleet used, because of things like that. Meaning it's due for an oil change, it's at 19,000 miles, who knows how long this thing has gone without its oil change. It could just be the light, but you don't know. And so with that, like, oil changes are so critical, and especially the more frequently you do them, the longer your car should last. There's this whole issue with, manufacturers were basically saying that, you could, with newer vehicles, go longer intervals between oil changes, but that led to issues with timing chain guides and just a whole slew of other internal engine issues that you just don't want to deal with. So Land Rover had a bunch, and so forth. But anyway, let's get into it. So already you can notice that I probably already right off the bat do enjoy this. It has, let's call it the bridge between, I guess, modern tech and old school tech. So it actually has a physical gauge here for your speedometer, and then this digital cluster here for your tachometer and all your warnings, menus, cruise control, everything else, sub-menus to access other systems and safety suite features, all right here in this middle screen here. So you still get a nice physical gauge there, bridging it with the modernity, the future, with the digital layout there. What I also do appreciate, they do create some sort of symmetry here, so you do have a nice physical bezel there, and then also even like they do mimic it, even the design of the physical gauge here on the tachometer as well too, and then even carry that kind of circle design language a little bit there on the on your fuel gauge there. So with that, I like physical gauges. I actually think, even, I don't know if you can see it, you can see it in the camera. So it gives it like a little bit of actual more elegance. Like, this just looks nicer than, something that a screen is reproducing. I use like the analogy of like, would you rather have a Casio or a Rolex? Granted, again, don't come for me in the comments, the Genesis is not a Rolex. But what I'm going through here is going with here is that there's something timeless about physical movement, physical function, that you just really can't replicate in a digital solution. So that's enough ranting about that. Another really nice thing here on the Genesis, even though I did figure out that this actually was more of their base standard model, and you get a lot of equipment, a lot of things standard, even on their base model. So you get this giant screen here with a nice physical dial here to operate it, which is very nice. And so you're not just sitting here getting your screen all grimy and just filled up with a bunch of fingerprints, and it's so easy to use. I think there were some maybe not car and driver, but Consumer Reports articles out there in the past that kind of complained about that it's kind of complicated. Well, it's not. I guess that's kind of in a personal preference on what's complicated or not, but I found it to be pretty intuitive. If you can work a rotary dial or a mouse or something. So it has two functions. It works kind of like a mouse a little bit, up and down, so you can scroll through other menus, but then there's also a nice scrolling feature too, which makes it just very intuitive. I think it's very, and also when you're driving too, it's nice not to have to like keep reaching up and to touch your screen to change settings. You have this nice, just big, huge control right here. Also, we went through last night that you have these rollers, which basically adjust your volume and your tuning, which are nice and easy to use versus like a typical knob or like maybe a button to go side to side for your tuning. So I do like that. It's pretty unique. And then you have your big, nice, actually it is nice. Like it's kind of like a nice, it is plastic and it has like a little bit ambient lighting in there, but it's like this crystal kind of design here on your rotary shift knob for your different drive, park, reverse, neutral drive. So that's super nice. And then again, another nice knob dial to control other functions for your drive modes. So we'll go through that here in a little bit. But first off, let's go ahead and go through all the menus here on the screen just real quick. So from what I can tell, you do get a nice big map. It seems to be standard. Let's see if it will navigate for us. Destination. Let's just see. Search. It looks like it does. Let's go to Times Square. And it looks like it works. So Ford, GM, please take a note. Granted, this is the more luxury offering from Hyundai Kia. They're not asking you to pay for any subscription. They are offering this standard on their base model SUV, so mid-size SUV. We'll see if it comes standard like on the the smaller one, the GV70, but on the GV80, that's standard. That's very nice. And so again, they're not nickel and diming you for all these features that should be standard. Oops. Navigation menu. What's that do? So again, basically just goes through more navigation features and functions. Back, HD radio, that's pretty explanatory. Media, that's going to be where you decide to connect either through your phone or through a USB. I don't know if you can do USB sticks anymore, but at least through your phone. HD radio data, so this will basically download traffic. Even fuel prices, which is kind of cool. Let's see what it says about here, if that works. Oh, that's fun. So actually, you can comb through here, this is actually pretty useful. So another Genesis win. So a nice standard easy feature. Hopefully these are accurate enough, but it will go ahead and you can see who has the cheapest gas, and you can go ahead and navigate it to there, hitting the go. And I'm actually at that gas station, so that's going to just navigate me right back to where I'm at. But that is a very nice feature if you're looking for gas, if you're out on the road and you want to, or you're just trying to find the cheapest gas station near you. So I'll hit back again. Back. Phone, self-explanatory. Connected services, what do they offer? So just some standards, so you can download a calendar, maybe sync a calendar, maybe your Google Calendar. Let's see, yeah, you got to activate that. We won't do that for now. Vehicle diagnostics, again, over the air, can see what's going on with your Genesis. As I mentioned a little earlier on cold starts, this particular one had a little bit of a rough idle. So I read some comments on that there's a little bit of issue with cylinder 4 that's coming up for other Genesis drivers. I believe it has something to do with the intake, or not the intake, but the injector for the fuel. So it may be that. It could be a host of other things too, but just want to point that out. There was a little bit of rough idle, and also again could also be that I didn't check, but I should. But maybe it needs a mid or a premium grade fuel, and that might cause some rough idling or misfiring too if it actually requires a higher grade fuel. And because it is a rental, people probably aren't paying a premium to refill their rental car, so that could be causing that rough idle, as well too. So we'll go ahead and hit back to go back, to the main screen here. Phone projection, that's going to be for your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto voice memo. So if you want to record things that you see along your drive while you're driving your Genesis along the highway, and you just have to take a memo, there you go. You can do that. I'm not going to record anything, and I don't know who Corona is, but I don't want to hear what Corona was saying back on 724. All right, getting into setup. So this is actually pretty intuitive as well. So you have a whole multitude of driver assist functions. And what's nice about Hyundai Kia vehicle, like their whole interface here, you're going to get a very similar layout in the Hyundais as well too. And again, some people might say, well, that's kind of cheap, or you should have something more special in the Genesis. Well, they already did a pretty good job in the Hyundais, and you can see here you have kind of a mini version of your GV80, which is nice little touch. So they're not just using the same software from your more base models, or base brands, and base makes up into your more luxury makes. So here you can kind of scroll through all your little different type of vehicle assistance. So there's driver convenience, there's smart cruise control. You can click on that. So lots and lots of little functions. I will say, this does have adaptive cruise control, again, standard, which again, American car companies, please take a note. This is standard. It should be standard on any Cadillac, any Lincoln, pretty much any higher premium level from Ford, GMC, Chevy, even on your base ones, because I do include it as a base feature on even the Hyundais and Kias, and then even on Toyotas. It's table stakes these days. Try and pretend you want to be competitive, because that's kind of the issue. It's how are you going to stay competitive when your competition is offering all of this and you still think it's 2010 or 2002? It's just bizarre to me that it's kind of, I don't know if it's the arrogance of those car companies. You're already bailed out once. We're not going to bail you out again. Once was enough. So hopefully they'll finally get it. And then, watch out, if any of those Chinese manufacturers will ever, build up shop in Mexico and start importing their vehicles. It'd be done, for the American car companies if they don't wake up and start modernizing, their, how they price their vehicles, but also what they include in the standard equipment, and even just their own design, and just overall modernizing their outlook on what's available out there in the marketplace today, because there's a lot more that we're not being offered from these American car companies. Okay, so we'll go ahead and back up out of this. And as you can see, this is very, very easy. It's not like that BMW where that was one of the most confusing layouts I've ever seen. This is very easy. It's best done, of course, when you're parked, because some of these menus are a little small. So even though you do have this giant screen, it's still probably best to do all this while you are parked, so you're not, where do we go? Oops, I went back too far. There, driver side assistant. So we'll go down to drive mode. Again, different kind of if you change your drive modes, it'll beep at you. There's something that, when you're coasting, maybe it'll do, what's that do? Decouples transmission from engine while coasting for better fuel economy and eco drive mode. So that's kind of cool. So it gives you a little bit more gas mileage. Show details of the drive mode change in a vehicle image highlighting in the area involved. That's kind of interesting. We'll leave that on when we change to drive modes. Go over here. So a little bit active sound. So a lot of these vehicles, they'll pipe some of the engine sound artificially into the cabin. What that does, it makes you sound like you have a much more powerful engine than you really do. So it's kind of a gimmick, but in this, it sounded better than probably what the actual sounds of that 4-cylinder are actually making. So I appreciate it. It's fine. Then it's not too artificial. Going over here to cluster. So this will change your gauge cluster, and grant only one side is configurable because that other side it's a physical dial. So we'll go over here to illumination. So a lot of settings you can adjust. So you can make it brighter if you wanted to, so you can see it gets a little bit brighter. Going over here to your different themes. So link to drive mode. We don't want to link it to drive mode. Let's see what theme A. That's what theme A is. What's theme B? So when we do go through the drive modes, basically when you go into sport mode, your tachometer turns into this flaming needle. So because you're just so hot and on fire with your new speedy Genesis, but it's fun. See, this is more what it goes into. It's an eco mode. So so it's almost like that base model of that Hyundai Palisade that we had a few weeks ago, where on these more base models you don't get that full configurability, but this does offer a lot more configurability than it did on that Palisade. I think it just changed the colors, and it was a full just digital readout for the speedometer and the tachometer, which over time I got used to it, but in the same sense I did not prefer it. I would definitely upgrade if possible, and if it's only cost, once you calculate the finance costs and everything for that upgrade, a few extra bucks a month, then yes, I would upgrade and pay for that, because if you're gonna have a digital dash, you might as well have it be configurable. Okay, so we'll go and hit back again. So there are a lot of features that you could go through here. Automatic ventilation, to bring in air like automatically from the outside, defrost options, climate features. There's different conveniences. So that's what I was mentioning here. So that haptic earlier. So it did feel kind of like a little bit like it was kind of going out, or just like it has like a little bit of a, what's the right word? It'll let you know, it buzzes a little bit. So kind of like, I think iPhones used to do this in the past. Maybe it still does. I don't know. But when you would like touch the button, it gives you like a little bit of sensorial response back that you've actually clicked on something. So it's just not like, clicking on this will give you like a little kind of bzz, bzz, which is kind of cool. So those are the heated seats. So yeah, you can basically set like, do you want it to be strong? So yes, it feels a little bit more I guess sensorial when you click on those things, when you go to like strong, and you can like basically adjust if you want strong, medium, light, or turning that off altogether. Hit back. Seat warmer balance. So basically you can adjust, I guess, if you want the cushion or the back, and like how it actually warms you, how the seat warmer actually works. That's actually kind of interesting. I've only been where you can just, maybe the degree of temperature that it's warming you, not exactly like, the seat's gonna warm me at, this kind of, degree of heat, versus the back cushion is gonna, warm me at this degree of heat. So that's kind of cool, actually. All right, so we'll back out of that. Smart posture care, what is this? So we actually saw this in the Mercedes, which it had kind of a function like this, where you can enter in your information, and then the seat will basically adjust for you based on those inputs, which is a nice kind of luxury feature. You don't see that typically in, the non-luxury brands. So nice little touch that they did there. Seating easy access, this will move the seat into an easier position. So it actually does move it back and moves the steering wheel up, so it's easier to get in and out of the vehicle. Lights, kind of went a little bit over this last night. So ambient lighting, do it again real quick. So different brightness controls, your colors dimmed in the dark, so it's not, blinding you. Again, some more, just a lot of stuff that's like really highly configurable in this base model of this Genesis GV70. So again, a lot of stuff you get for your money here, but also if you are going to compete in this category, these are kind of expected things as well too. So door lift gate, so it is a power lift gate. You can adjust basically how high it's going to lift, how fast it's going to go, and then also, you know, for your door locks, when you do shift it in the park, if it's going to unlock you know, your doors, or if it's going to keep them locked as a safety feature. Digital key, you can turn your phone into a key, convenience. So this is, again, if you're a scummy parent and you forgot that you left your kids, you know, again, I don't understand how you could forget your own kids, that you left them in the back seat, but I guess it happens. So this here will warn you that don't be a scummy parent. Go ahead and make sure that, you know, your kids that you birthed or, you know, raise or are raising are not in the back seat on a 100-degree day, and make sure that you actually bring them out of your car. So that's what that there is for people that, you know, just have very short-term memory. Service interval, oil change reminder. Again, Avis, please take a note, and why I'll never buy a car from you or any other rental car company or anything that was like a fleet use, because y'all don't take care of your cars. So unless it just was never reset, and even if it was reset, who knows? We're at 19,000 miles, so at the most it should have had at least one oil change. It's due for its second, at least at the bare minimum, but more likely it should be no more than 5,000 mile intervals, especially you don't know what kind of driving that it's going to be done with. A rental car vehicle, it could be a lot of city driving, it could be a lot of stop and go. People could be hard on them. So if I was, you know, a caretaker for these automobiles, like within a rental fleet, I would be changing that oil every 3,000 miles. However, that's probably not the best business. You know, it doesn't make for the best business case, so it does add cost. So, and once you basically sell them off, they're not your problem anymore. So, again, that was a little rant on, but very, very important. It's like why, if you're buying a used vehicle, really please do check where, what that prior vehicle was used for. I believe if you buy something from like CarMax or something, they should disclose that to you. If they don't, then don't buy it, because you will be stuck with it. And if there are already issues from, like, you know, poor maintenance of the past, they're going to be on you if you did not buy any warranty, or it's going to still be your headache because you're going to be taking it back and forth to get warranty work done. So go back, and then vehicle is shut off after 30 minutes. We'll change that actually so that it doesn't turn off on me. There we go. All right, so back. So again, a lot of, in these vehicle settings, a lot of things you can change. Navigation, we went through that a little bit. It's very nice that this all comes standard. Sound. So many different features that you can, you know, mess around with here. And again, it's very intuitive. It's so nice having it here in this, you know, giant knob to like control through the screen versus having your hand up here, shoulder getting tired, trying to like navigate through it. I guess you could, you know, this is a nice little shelf actually. So you could, like, you know, use this to, you know, scroll through the screens. But it's a bunch of scummy little grimy fingerprints all over their touchscreen. That's why this is very nice to have. Go here, back over here to menu. We'll go back again so we can stay. And you can basically set up a user profile, which is kind of cool too. So that way, you know, if you are sharing it, like, you know, with your significant other, and you guys have different driving preferences and, you know, different temperature, different radio settings, all that fun stuff, you can basically customize that to yourself so that when you get in, you don't have to annoy your spouse with your preferences. And then also they don't have to annoy you by like constantly having to always adjust back and trying to remember, oh, do they like it like here, or do they like it like this, and causing, you know, domestic disputes, which again, another nice little feature. Go Genesis. And again, that's also something that should be offered. You know, it's not very uncommon to have like different user profiles, especially when you're in this near luxury category for vehicles. So I'm gonna hit back. valet mode, that's just going to limit a lot of the features, so that typically in the past you wouldn't be able to get into like a glove box or something. This is an SUV, so sometimes like, you know, like on a sedan or something, they would lock the trunk so that way you don't have curious valet attendants going through all your things. It might even limit, you know, the speedometer here on this too, or like, you know, like a speed limit, so someone's not out joyriding in your you know, hot rod Genesis GV80 with its flaming needle. So yeah, but you know, it's to activate it, so the next owner that ends up buying this, they can go ahead and do that. Oops, went over too far. Seat. So again, expectations, these are all pretty much table stakes here that you would expect like in a near luxury vehicle. Passenger talk, what is this? This is interesting. Oh, so this here, you might hear some of the feedback, but basically it's like if you're on a bus and it's like, children, maybe you can hear it in the back, children, stop being so bad, I'm watching you, we're not going to Children's Hospital. That's a funny line my parents used to say to me all the time, if we were being bad. So basically it makes like a loudspeaker in the back, so if your kids are being obnoxious, especially in the third row, which again, the 2.5 liter does not have the third row, only the 3.5 liter does, and you can basically scare them through the speakers that are, you know, back there, and make sure that they know that you're watching them and they need to behave. All right, quiet mode. So again, makes just, again, you know, helps with fatigue when you're driving, or if you need to concentrate more, it'll go ahead and reduce the sound and maybe even reduce some of like the lighting too. Climate, this is all pretty standard, but nice graphics of your GV80 dash there. You can leave it on climate if you want to, but it's all redundant down here. And so again, I like, if you're gonna have digital screen solutions, give some redundancy so that hopefully if something goes out, you can still at least get it to a dealer without being, you know, if it's a super cold day, not being able to turn on your heat, or if it's a super hot day, not being able to turn on your air conditioning, or if you got to defrost, you know, your windows, you still have at least a backup option, you know, the physical button here, which is nice, or for your rear, to go ahead and, oh, there you go, rear, to still be able to see out of your vehicle and drive it safely to a, you know, dealer, or get it home, or wherever you need to do in a nice, safe way. Go and hit back, notification, and then again, this has a digital manual. You know, I feel about that. What's nice actually with this QR code, you can at least very easily download this to your phone, which is kind of cool. I didn't see that in the Ford. It may have been there, I may have missed it, but that gives you at least, again, another backup option in case this whole screen were to go out and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. Where's my manual? Well, let me check here. Oh, I don't see it there, but Avis typically doesn't keep the manuals in there. People end up walking with them. And then, but yeah, no, you can still like download the manual and kind of like still diagnose some things if some of these like functions have gone out. So very cool. Okay. Went through all that, lots of features to go through. Again, it's near luxury vehicle. I keep saying that because I think Genesis still has to prove itself just a little bit longer, maybe on the long-term reliability and how they fare. They are a very new brand. They were originally branded as Hyundai Genesis when they first came out back in the early 2010s, and then created the sub-brand Genesis after, you know, I think in the mid-2010s. And then this came out, I believe, in 2020, maybe introduced in 2019, but it's a 2020, I believe, model. I'll have to check on that. And, you know, it's still very new. You know, people keep their cars more than 4 years. And so, but so far in the comments, I haven't seen a lot of real issues with this, except for that, you know, issue on cylinder 4 with this 4-cylinder. No real issues I saw like with the twin turbo V6. However, again, after the time starts going by and people start putting really high miles on them and those 100,000 mile warranties start to expire, then that will be the telltale case on, can the Genesis really compete with the big guys? Well, as time has gone on, we all know quality at Mercedes and BMW has like fallen off of a cliff. You know, Mercedes is nothing like it used to be back in the 90s with like an old, you know, E-class, E3, like if it's a W124 E-class, you can all look up the chassis number, don't crucify me, or one of the old big S-classes, you know, from the early 90s too, or even like an 80s Mercedes, you know, too. So like they're nothing like they used to be. Even older BMWs used to be way more reliable than they are today. So you really kind of, you know, even like Lexus, like up until now, 2024, they were the benchmark for like reliability. And well, now that they introduced that twin turbo V6, they're starting to have some problems, and you know, they're seeing that, you know, issues even like on their big Tundras, like things like metal flakes or something, like from when they were machining the engine block. They end up getting into like, you know, were left in there, and it just is causing all these issues, bunch of recalls, you know, on these like newer Toyota and Lexus, like, you know, products. So it's kind of sucks. I'm a huge Toyota fan. I think they're great. Driving older, you know, that older 2022, you know, 4Runner. Decided to get that one, you know, because it was before they're going to go to the turbocharged 4, and wanted something that I just knew was going to be super reliable and I could actually keep, you know, forever. Basically, my old 4Runner, you know, went, you know, over 260,000 miles, and we'll do a video on when it's when you decide to finally say goodbye to something that, you know, is pretty reliable, but there are some things that, you know, just ultimately don't last forever. So overall, I agree with the car manufacturers, or not car manufacturers, the car magazines and rating agencies. They all give this Genesis very high ratings, and it drives nice. You do have a couple options, you know, on what trim level or package you want. It does look like that up until 2024, they basically offered it what it looks like in 3 different options. You had a 2.5 liter, you know, it's kind of your base option for, and that's engine size, just 4-cylinder turbo. And then you also had a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6, and you could add different options to those you know, different, they were basically just like 3 you know, trim packages, and you could add options to them. But they look like they're doing to in 2025. They're gonna go to a full screen here, which I don't like. I like this layout much better, but they're offering distinct trim packages, which looks like it might be probably more profitable for the company. It's a lot easier to build, you know, set number of trim packages, and then also a little bit easier for the shopper consumer to go ahead and just order a trim package versus trying to menu select and pick and choose what different options you want, and then you have to kind of pre-order your vehicle, hope that, you know, or find one that has all those exact options available that you want. You know, Porsche still does that, like where you basically get the, you know, order cup holders. You know, it's wild, but, you know, Porsche has the brand heritage and loyalty and following, you know, to be able to do such a thing. I don't think Genesis are quite there yet, but that is one change that will be coming into 2024 R5. Again, this will change that a little bit, but I don't know if they're doing any other kind of chassis or engine, or maybe some slight exterior changes as well. But yeah, would I get a 2024, wait for the 2025? It depends what kind of deal they'd give me on a 2024. I definitely think this is definitely worth a lease. And then actually maybe even a strong buy. Like if you get one new and then you end up keeping it for the full length of that, you know, warranty, then it might be a good solid option for you. You know, especially if you keep it that long, and then you don't have to really worry about any of the powertrain stuff going out. And from what I've read, they're pretty good about honoring their warranties when things do go bad. So it could be a good option for you. Real quick, we go through these drive modes. So like I said, we're on sport now. You get a few drive modes in it. There's a custom, which it looks like you can adjust up there. Let's see what that does. We'll figure that out. Settings. Okay, it brought that up. So basically, okay, so instead of just having like your power, you can change your powertrain, your steering, or your all-wheel drive, either between sport, comfort, or smart. So you have a little bit more configurability in your custom mode there. So that's kind of cool in case like, you want, comfortable steering, but sporty acceleration. You can option that out in custom. We'll go ahead and click out of that. There's that sport, comfort, eco. Eco is going to basically give you a few more extra miles, MPGs. However, I didn't, it felt really kind of doggy. So I think your best setup for just everyday driving is probably comfort. And let me go ahead and I'll show you just how quick and easy this is to go ahead and change. So we don't have to have a fiery needle anymore. Link to drive mode. So nice and perfect. So you can see here that changed again. So when you go between your drive modes, it will go ahead and just change that needle for you. And there you go. So like it gives you like just a little indicator of what drive mode, in case you forgot. And can't read the little, sport thing there, too. Okay. So we gave our overall thoughts. We like it. Would I buy it? This is actually probably one of the ones I would lean to maybe because it has such an extended warranty. On the used market, they tend to do, I think, okay. Maybe not as good as like a Toyota or a Lexus or a Honda product, but I think they do okay. So I think you're going to do better in this than you would on a Lincoln or even a Cadillac. Maybe even better than some things from like the Germans too. Again, the Germans, like, yes, you might get a little bit more style in the Mercedes or something, a little bit more drama. BMW is going to probably drive a little bit better, but you do have a lot more issues to deal with on, the long term. Their warranties aren't as long either. So you're kind of honestly just buying a badge at that point. If because once you pay the thing off, or if you paid in cash, you're going to be hitting all that depreciation up front. And so I kind of like to look at this more from a financial standpoint where you want to, yes, there's always going to be depreciation, but you want to minimize your losses as much as possible. And that's all encompassing financial losses, time losses with the vehicle being in and out of the shop, with warranty issues or out of warranty issues. So from that standpoint, yeah, I think like as long as the depreciation doesn't fall off a cliff, then you should be okay. And so you should still have some value in the vehicle by the time you do decide to sell it. And then also with this too, I think that extra extended warranty does help keep some value in these and some of that unknown if they will be truly reliable in the long run. But yeah, so I think this is definitely one of the first ones that I've reviewed where I would say, yeah, maybe look and see what your buy options look like, so kind of financing you could do, or if they have a nice lease on it, and then maybe you can buy it afterwards if you truly do like it. Again, for 2025, I don't know how I feel about that giant dash screen. I really hope though what they did, because you can see here how much higher this sits than this here sits. So hopefully when they do this giant screen, they didn't do what they did in the Cadillac where they literally just plopped the screen down and called it a day. Hopefully they at least design the driving position and kind of work things here so that way you aren't either looking way down at a screen, or it's blocking your field of view there. So we'll see when we get one of those in the future. And take it from there. Oh, one last little party trick. Want to mention this again. This is kind of cool. So I think I mentioned it earlier, but basically you can adjust your passenger seat, what makes it a little bit easier if you're playing chauffeur, or you decided to take up a, what do you call them, like one of those gig jobs, and you decide to like play Uber driver for a little bit. You don't have to reach all the way around to move your seat up. But of course, if you are just driving like, passengers, or if you have like a really lazy, a mean, passenger sitting there, then you can like, play some mean tricks on them. Or if they're being mean to your, backseat passengers, you can, take control, over that. So I'll leave it on that note, and we will see you in the next one. Oh, lastly, I did want to say that material-wise, even this is a base one, remember that Denali we did where I was like, cheap, 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 cheap? Again, Americans, take a note. Granted, this is the base. There is so like a little bit of wiggle jiggle in some of these, but this is nice and tight. This obviously has a little wiggle jiggle because it has like a, it's multi-function, moves back and forth. Even this has a little bit of wiggle jiggle, but overall, it is very nice, soft touch materials. This felt okay. I think hopefully, like, if you did upgrade, this material would be upgrade like a something nicer. It's okay. It's not like that nasty stuff that they used to use on those old, mid-2010 Sonatas. But even all the way down here, you get, open it up real quick. Some nice like leather-ish material there, but again, very nice materials throughout, even on this base model. Even there, it's nice. You don't feel any really hard plastics until you get way down below. Granted, like what you do see, you get a nice little speaker grill up there. Down there, it's just you can't see it too well, but it's just plastic. But just wanted to call that out. That again, another win for the Genesis. Materials very nice, especially for being this is more of a base model. And I can only imagine as you like go up in your trim packages, you get even nicer. So we'll see you on the next one. So last thoughts on this Genesis GV80. I forgot to answer actually. Would I choose the 2.5 over the 3.5? So the 4-cylinder versus the 6-cylinder. Looking at the fuel economy. Go ahead, go into this menu real quick. Where are you? said it was very easy before. We'll get there. There we go. So we didn't really go through all these little screens, but you know, pretty all standard stuff. So 23.5 overall since, you know, basically for over 3,000 miles, so well before me. Since I last filled up, about 21 miles to the gallon on the 4-cylinder. Basically, I think the 4-cylinder is fine. Like, it has definitely enough pickup and go on the highway. It's kind of gets me a personal preference. If you need that extra power, then, you know, opt for the 6-cylinder, but this 4-cylinder definitely has more than enough power to get up and go. And also, you'll save yourself a few bucks. Go and put up, you know, the cost difference there. And yeah, save yourself the money, save yourself a little bit at the fuel pump. It does need premium, so I did put a little bit of, instead of there on the gas cap when I was filling up. So maybe that'll solve that rough idle. I'll bring it up when I drop the keys off, but let me know in the comments if you think that's what was causing that rough idle, or if it's something else, you know, a bit more mechanical. Maybe it's like on the fuel injectors, you know, being dirty or something, or maybe it's a spark, you know, issue. But other than that, great vehicle. Definitely recommend. It definitely does deserve a great, a nice look. It's been a great time with it, and we will see you in the next one.